I decided to visit my wife at her job as a CEO. At the entrance, there was a sign that said, "Authorized personnel only." When I told the guard I was the CEO's husband, he laughed and said, "Sir, I see her husband every day. There he is, coming out right now." So I decided to play along. The security guard at Meridian Technologies laughed when I told him I was Lauren's husband. "Sir, I see her husband here every day. There he is right now, actually." He pointed toward the glass doors. A man in a charcoal Tom Ford suit was walking through the lobby. Early 40s, confident stride, expensive watch catching the afternoon light. The kind of guy who looked like he belonged on the cover of Forbes. "Mr. Sterling," the guard called out. "Your wife's still in her 3:00 meeting. Should be done in about 20. The man, Frank Sterling, according to his security badge, nodded and headed toward the elevator bank. He hadn't seen me yet. I was standing off to the side, holding a takeout bag from Osteria, Lauren's favorite Italian place downtown. My heart was doing something strange in my chest. Not racing, just stopping and starting, like a car engine misfiring. 28 years. I'd been married to Lauren for 28 years, and apparently she had another husband at work. Frank pressed the elevator button, pulled out his phone, started scrolling. Every instinct I had screamed at me to confront him, to walk over there and ask him what the hell he thought he was doing, calling himself my wife's husband, to make a scene, to demand answers. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the way the security guard had said it, so casual, so certain, like it was common knowledge, like everyone knew, everyone except me. "You know what?" I said to the guard, keeping my voice steady. "I think I have the wrong building. I'm looking for Gerald Pharmaceuticals, not Meridian Tech." The guard looked confused. "You said you were Mrs. Sterling's husband." I said I was a friend of the family. "Gerald's my name. Must have gotten my wires crossed." I forced a laugh. "Been a long day." I set the takeout bag on the security desk. "Actually, could you make sure Lauren gets this? Just say Gerald dropped it off. Family friend." The guard shrugged. "Sure thing." I walked out before my legs could give out. I'd been married to Lauren since 1996. Met her when we were both 23. Me, fresh out of my accounting degree. Her finishing her MBA at Northwestern. She was brilliant, ambitious, the kind of woman who made plans in 5-year increments and actually followed through. I was the steady one, the practical one, the guy who managed our finances, kept our home running, made sure the bills were paid and the retirement accounts were funded. Lauren always said I was her foundation, that she could take risks in her career because she knew I'd keep everything stable at home. She'd climbed fast, director at 30, VP at 35, CEO of Meridian Technologies at 43, a tech company specializing in AI-driven logistics software. She'd turned it from a struggling startup into a $200 million operation in 8 years. I was proud of her. So damn proud. I'd supported every late night, every business trip, every weekend she spent reviewing financials instead of going to dinner with me. Because that's what you do when you love someone. You support their dreams. We didn't have kids. Lauren had never wanted them. Said they'd derail her career trajectory. I'd been disappointed at first, but I'd accepted it. Her career was her baby. I understood that, or I thought I did. Now I was sitting in my car in the Meridian Technologies parking lot, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to process what I'd just seen. Frank Sterling, Lauren's VP of Operations. I'd met him exactly once at a company holiday party 2 years ago. Tall guy, charismatic. Lauren had introduced him as one of my rising stars and spent most of the evening talking shop with him while I made small talk with the other spouses. I'd thought nothing of it. Why would I? I trusted my wife. But the security guard had called him Mr. Sterling, had said he saw Lauren's husband every day. Not boyfriend, not a fair partner. Husband. I didn't go home right away. Couldn't face the empty house, the one I'd spent the day cleaning, the one where I'd made Lauren's favorite lasagna for dinner, the one where I'd been planning to surprise her with tickets to see Hamilton next month for our anniversary. Instead, I drove to a coffee shop 3 blocks away and sat in a corner booth with a black coffee I didn't drink. My phone buzzed at 6:47 p.m. "Lauren, working late again. Don't wait up. Love you." I stared at that message for a long time. Love you. Did she actually love me? Or was I just, what, the backup plan? The safety net? The guy who paid half the mortgage while she lived a double life? I typed and deleted a dozen responses before settling on, "Okay, there's lasagna in the fridge." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "You're the best. See you late tonight." I put my phone face down on the table and tried to breathe. Lauren came home at 11:23 p.m. I was in the living room pretending to read a book. Actually, I'd been staring at the same page for 3 hours. "Hey," she said, dropping her bag by the door. She looked tired, hair slightly mussed, lipstick faded. "How was your day?" I asked. My voice sounded normal. I was surprised by that. "Exhausting. Back-to-back meetings all afternoon. Board presentation at 4. Then Frank and I had to go through the Q3 projections." She headed to the kitchen. "Did you say there's lasagna?" "Yeah, in the fridge." I listened to her move around the kitchen, the microwave humming, the refrigerator opening and closing, the familiar sounds of my wife existing in our home. Our home. Was it even our home anymore? Or had that become a lie too? She came back with a plate of reheated lasagna and sat in the armchair across from me. "This is perfect. I'm starving. I actually stopped by your office today," I said casually. "Brought you lunch from Osteria." She paused, mid-bite, just for a second, a tiny hesitation that most people wouldn't notice. But I'd been been married to her for 28 years, I noticed. You did? I didn't get anything. I gave it to Frank Sterling. Figured he could pass it along. Oh, she took another bite, chewed, swallowed. He didn't mention it. Maybe it got lost in the shuffle. Busy day, you know. She was lying. Perfectly. Not a single crack in her composure. How is Frank? I asked. Nice guy? He's great. Best VP I've ever worked with. Really gets the vision, you know? We're in sync on pretty much everything. In sync. That's good. Important to have a strong working relationship. Absolutely. She smiled at me. The same smile I'd fallen in love with 28 years ago. Thanks for trying to bring me lunch, though. That was sweet. Anytime. We sat there for a while. Her eating lasagna, me pretending to read. Like a normal married couple on a Tuesday night. Except nothing was normal anymore. I waited until she was asleep. Lauren always slept deeply. Years of running on caffeine and adrenaline had trained her to shut down completely when she finally crashed. By midnight, she was out cold. I went to her study. The door was never locked. Why would it be? I was her husband. She trusted me. Her laptop was on the desk, closed but not locked. I knew her password, had known it for years. It was our wedding date, 061596. I opened the laptop, my hands shaking slightly, feeling like a criminal in my own home. Her email was already open. Thousands of messages. I didn't know where to start. So I started with her calendar. The appointments looked normal at first glance. Meetings, board calls, conferences. But then I started noticing patterns. Dinner with F, 7 outdoor p.m. at Il Posto. That was 2 weeks ago. Il Posto was a romantic Italian restaurant in the West Loop. Candlelit tables, live piano music. Not a place you take your VP for a business dinner. Weekend retreat. Grand Geneva Resort scheduled for last month. I scrolled to the resort's website. $450 a night for the suites. Lauren had told me it was a women's leadership conference. I pulled up her credit card statements. Found the charge for Grand Geneva. 2 rooms. Both on the corporate card. No, wait. 1 room. The other charge was canceled. 1 room, 2 people. My stomach dropped. I kept digging. Found more dinners, more trips. A pattern spanning back nearly 3 years. But it was all coded. All deniable. Business dinners, corporate retreats, team building exercises. Except Frank's name appeared on every single one. I closed the laptop and went to the bedroom. Stood in the doorway watching Lauren sleep. She looked peaceful, innocent. I'd trusted her completely. Never questioned, never doubted. And she'd been lying to me for 3 years. The next morning, I called in sick to work. First time in 6 years. I was a senior accountant at Monroe & Associates, a mid-sized firm in the Loop. Good job, stable, boring. The kind of career that pays the bills but doesn't make for interesting dinner party conversation. Lauren made 3 times what I made. I'd never resented that. Her success was our success, or so I'd thought. After Lauren left for work, kissing my forehead and telling me to feel better, I started really digging. I went through every drawer in her study, every file cabinet, every box in her closet, in the back of her jewelry drawer, hidden under a tangle of costume necklaces she never wore. I found a key, just a key, silver, standard apartment key, no label, but attached to it was a keychain tag with an address, Harbor View Apartments, Unit 214. Harbor View was a luxury apartment complex in River North. I'd driven past it dozens of times. 30-story building, floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of place where a studio started at $2,500 a month. I grabbed the key and drove there. The parking garage had spaces marked with unit numbers. Space 214 had a black Mercedes GLE parked in it, Frank Sterling's car. I recognized it from the company parking lot. My hands were shaking as I took the elevator up to the 2nd floor. Found Unit 214. The key fit. The door opened. Inside was a fully furnished apartment, not a temporary rental. A home, hardwood floors, modern furniture, fresh flowers on the coffee table. The air smelled like Lauren's perfume, Chanel No. 5, the expensive one she only wore for special occasions. Photos on the mantle showed Lauren and Frank at a beach, at a restaurant, on a hiking trail. In every single picture, Lauren wasn't wearing her wedding ring. I walked through the apartment in a daze. The kitchen had 2 sets of dishes, 2 coffee mugs on the counter, his and hers. The bedroom made me physically ill. A king-size bed with expensive linens, Lauren's clothes in the closet hanging next to Frank's suits, her shoes lined up next to his, like they'd been living together for years, like they were married. On the dresser, I found a folder labeled Future Plans in Lauren's distinctive handwriting. I opened it. Real estate listings, houses in Evanston, Oak Park, Wilmette, all in the $800,000 to $1.2 million range, all circled with notes in the margins. Good schools nearby, schools close to Frank's parents, love the kitchen, travel brochures, Santorini, Tokyo, New Zealand, dream honeymoon destinations, and underneath all of that, legal documents, divorce consultation summaries dated from 18 months ago. Lauren had met with 3 different divorce attorneys, shopping for the best deal. The notes were clinical, cold, strategy, frame as irreconcilable differences, cite Gerald's lack of ambition and emotional distance, document instances of his failure to support my career growth, instances she'd been building a case against me. There were pages of examples, times I'd supposedly undermined her by asking her to skip work events, times I'd been emotionally unavailable by not wanting to discuss corporate politics at dinner, times I'd shown lack of ambition by being content with my accounting job. Every normal marital friction point, reframed as evidence of my inadequacy. The most recent note, dated